Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and my craft table, and welcome if you're new. I'm back today with another viewer request. In today's video, we're going to be putting together an Easter lantern. So this is going to be made out of cardstock. We're going to have some vellum for the side panels. And what you would do is put like a battery operated tea light or some fairy lights down in the lantern to give it a little bit of a glow. I do have a 110-pound piece of cardstock for the base. I've got this like a sea glass looking cardstock. This is 65-pound, and this will be for the sides of the lantern. I have my light grip mats for my Cricut Maker 3. I do have my brayer and some scissors and my bone folder, just in case I need those. And I also have over here my favorite liquid glue and some double-sided adhesive tape. So before we get started putting this together, I want to take you into Design Space to show you the project that was requested. And I did do a few changes to the file in Design Space. I wanted to show you how I did that. And then we will come right back here and get our project put together. Okay, here I am in Design Space, and this is the main screen. Now I already have it bookmarked. I'm going to go over to my stuff, and I will show you the original file. So under bookmarked, it looks like this. It says copy of Easter lantern. And when I opened the file, the only thing that I saw was this red lantern. This lantern here is not in the file at all. So I decided to take a look at all of the images. So I opened it and I started just scrolling through. I noticed that the flourish at the bottom, the heart, and this flourish, they're all there. So what I decided to do was create this in the file that I made. So I'm going to go to edit a copy, and then I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, zoom out like that. Now these 4 yellow panels, that represents our vellum. Now I'm going to be cutting the vellum on my paper trimmer. I don't think I'm going to have the Cricut cut it out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use one of these. So let's do this. Let's hide the vellum. So I'm going to group those together, and then I'm going to hide them with the eyeball. Now these 4 panels, as you can see, are grouped together. So I'm going to ungroup them, and then I'm going to keep this one visible, and I'm going to go ahead and just hide the other 3. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to the Shapes panel. I'm going to click on a square. I'm going to bring it in. Now this square right here is 4.65 by 7.65. So that's what I'm going to change this to. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to the Lock Proportions button and open it. And we said 4.65, and if I remember, I need to unlock, there we go. 465, 765, so over here I need to change the height to 7.65. Then I'm going to lock the proportions. This will represent my lantern panel. And let's go ahead and change the color. So we want kind of a prettier color going on, right? I need an outline of this area that is right in here. So just this area. So I'm going to go back to Shapes. I'm going to grab another square. And then this time I am going to put it like in this, I'm going to put it right here in this corner where I want to cover up kind of all of that. So I'm going to put it right here in this corner, just like so. I'm going to widen that, and then I'm going to bring it down. Okay, so I have all of that covered. So now I know for sure that that is the size of the opening that I need. I am going to bring that over here I'm just going to set it here for right now. And then what I want to do is I want to just kind of put this underneath and see how my black box, it doesn't line up with where the white one was. So I'm going to click on that one, and I'm just going to use my right arrow key, and I'm just going to go like that. And I'm just basically eyeballing and send it back a little bit. So now this lines up right here with my black box, and so does this right here. I can do the same thing vertically, but I think I did a pretty good job doing that vertically. Okay, so just like that, and I'm going to move this out of the way. So all I did was create 2 rectangles. I sized one to the large white area, and then I sized the other one to just cover this inner pattern that you see here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these images, okay, and I can tell they're both selected by my layers panel. And then the slice button should be available to use because you can only slice 2 layers at a time. So I'm going to click on slice. I'm going to pull away this one. These 2 right here, and you can see like one is behind. Yeah, I don't need those. So I'm actually going to get rid of both of those. I don't need them. If I put this on top, that's a pretty good fit. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the white panel. I'm going to go over to the layers panel and click on the arrow. I'm going to click on the score line, and then I want to duplicate that. Now when I duplicate that, it is still here attached to the white panel. Even though it looks like it's outside, it's kind of attached to it. So I'm going to drag that up to the very top, very, very top. Now, when I drag it to the very, very top and I move it over here, this will be on top of my slice result. So I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to go to Align, and I want to do Center Vertically, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now, if you really want to see if that fold line is in the right spot, you can bring this back over and just kind of look. Right? So it looks like my score line is ever so slightly to the right. So I'm going to click on my score line one more time, and then I'll just arrow over, and now I can see where they're lined up. So this white panel, I don't need that anymore. I'm going to hide that one. These 2 here, I am going to drag and click both of them, and then I want to click on attach. You can see that down here in the layers panel. You can also see it right here. And so this is one item now. Now I need to bring in the 3 images that I really want to use. So I'm going to click on the title. It'll bring up the information for you again. And then I will scroll down, and when I get to these images that I want, I'm going to just click on the plus sign, and you'll see a little message that says added to canvas. I'm going to click on that plus sign, and I'm going to click on that plus sign. And then you can just exit out of both of those. So now I'm here on my canvas. Now this will automatically pop up, and I just collapse that. I don't need to have the extra. I'm going to size this down and just kind of move it over here to the side. I'm going to have this here in a second and this here. So we're going to get everything sized up. So what I remember about the image, and you can always go back to here and you can always look. So the heart is touching the top border, the side border, and it's not quite to the bottom. This flourish is side to side and touching the bottom. And I would say that's, probably about a good maybe inch. So then I see these flourishes. One is going from the cross corner through that little loop down to the edge. And this one is clipping onto the edge and down to the corner or the side, right? You can see both of that. I'm going to go ahead and click off that again. The first thing I'm going to bring in is my flourish here, and I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to size that down. Now I do want it to kind of overlap side by side. Let's go ahead and zoom in so you can get a better view of what we're doing. So I can see this right here is overlapping, and this one is overlapping. I do want it overlapping just slightly, and I'm going to bring it down. And when I get down here, I want to just bring it to where it ever so slightly is overlapping. Okay, so I don't want to see any space, and you can actually zoom in even more. You want to make sure that you can see some sort of overlap. You do want to have them both selected. Okay, when you have them both selected, then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on combine, and I'm going to go to weld. So now you can see this is married here, 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 and here. It's great. That's exactly what I want to see. And you can always go back and just double check. So theirs was a little bit wider, like they had it go all the way edge to edge. And I could see, oh, well, maybe I don't have it wide enough. So then I can click the undo button and undo the weld only because I have not yet hit save. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this guy over here so that it touches. Then I want to bring this one over here. So this pointy part of the curve is matching up with the edge on both sides. I want to go to edit. I want to go to arrange, and I want to send it to the back. Okay, so now it's going to look like that, and that is more like what the picture looked like just a moment ago. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag to get both of them. And then I want to go to combine. And actually, before I do that, let's hide the score line. Okay, we don't want to affect that score line. So I'm going to click and drag those two layers right here. Now I'm going to go and click weld. All right, and it might change your color, and you can just go back and change the color the way you want. Now you'll notice that it says, you know, the weld result is here. Okay, so I have to go find my score line that I had earlier, and I may just have to duplicate another one. I'm not sure where my score line went. Okay, that's totally fine. So I'm going to click on this right here and bring it back in. Let me move these out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the score line that like I did earlier. I'm going to duplicate it, and while it is selected, I'm going to bring it all the way to the top, very, very top. And for right now, since we're working, I'm not going to weld it. Okay, I'm just gonna, or attach it. I'm just gonna leave it off to the side. And then this one here, I can hide that again. So we will attach the score line at the very end. Okay, so now we've got this part done. And now we need to get this part done. So that's going to take some resizing. I'm going to click and drag the corner. And kind of just go down until I think it's right. And then I'm going to have it where it overlaps here and here and here. And then I want to see, like, how is it overlapping down here? Okay, so it's overlapping here and in all those places. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to go back to the picture, and it looks like it's a nice, okay, I think I got it pretty well in the right area. So click off of that. Okay, and in fact, I think theirs even dipped down just slightly like that, like it kind of overlapped a little bit like that. But I think this looks great. So I'm going to click and drag, and then they're both selected. I'm going to come over here to combine, then I will hit weld. Okay, and there we go. Now notice this time that it stayed blue. It stayed blue because the blue panel was on the back. So when you weld, whatever's on the very back, that's the color that your image will become. Okay, and now I just have to work with this flourish. So let me zoom back out a little bit. We still have our score line over here. It's just hanging out, looking pretty, but I need to deal with this. Okay, couple of things that I noticed. So it looks like this top piece right here, it's kind of like that double curve. All right,
That sounds good. So this double curve right here. So what I want to do is, I'm going to resize it in a second, but I want to flip it. So it's selected. Let's go to edit. And then I want to go to flip horizontally. Let me close that out. When I flipped it horizontally, that double curve right here came to the front. So then I'm going to bring it over here. And then I'm going to bring this down. And then I want to hover around a corner. Okay, I want to hover around a corner and I want to just make it a little bit tilted. And I'm really just doing that to where I think I like it. If you want to go back here, you can see that these two don't touch each other, but all of these do. And then that little part there is in the margin of the panel. So you can just play with it to your heart's content. So I'm going to bring this in like that. This comes down a little bit. Now it doesn't look like that's too much space, right? So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it a little bit more. And I'm going to bring it down. So I want it kind of like that. And then bring it up. And I can even make it just a hair bigger in both directions. Okay. And I can make this a little bit like that. So I've got some space just like the other picture. Now I want to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. This is going to overlap, but do you see how there's like space right here? I definitely want to make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to bring this in like that. Okay. And then I'm going to bring it down so that all of these are kind of overlapping each other up here. This is touching this edge right there. And I can even like push it in so that I don't have that little gap. And this one here. Okay. So that's overlapping. This is overlapping. This, all of that is overlapping. That's exactly what I want. Now, before I do anything, I want to duplicate that. So I can click the duplicate button here or in the layers panel. So I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to move that piece out of the way. And then I'm going to grab both of these. Now remember the blue is in the back, which is what I want. So everything will turn blue. I'm going to go to combine and then I'm going to hit weld. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. My other flourish. All right, now that that is duplicated, I'm going to take this and I need to flip it horizontally one more time. So I will go to edit and I will go to flip horizontally, collapse that. I'm going to bring this over here. Now, if you are, let's say you go over here to edit and you couldn't see it way over there, you can resize so that you can see your all of your images. And then you can blow them back up if you need to see them. You can also move them around. You can move them around while this panel is open. So sometimes if you feel like you need to be able to see something, you just want to manipulate that, you can. You can also just collapse that. It's not a big deal. All right, let's go in to zoom in again. So I want to point out that the bottom of this flourish is flush with that grid line. So that's what I want to do over here. I'm going to select it and I'm just using my little arrow key, my down arrow. Okay, I think that looks good. This is touching. Let me make sure that it's touching all the way because I have an overlap here. And then here, again, it looks like an overlap, but I could even go a little bit more just so that I'm not having to worry about that little line. Okay, so I think that looks really good. Zoom back out so we can see. Now I'm going to select both of those, combine, and weld. All right, there we go. We did it. And then I have this score line right here. Now, if you want to make your own score line, just so you know, shapes, and then this line up here, if you populate that, okay, in your canvas, it says score right here. And then you can make it as long as you want. Okay, so the last thing we need to worry about is putting this score line back into place. This is the one that we copied earlier that I lost and had to go recopy. Because it's selected, that's why we see the green. And if you want to make this maybe a lighter blue, like the blue and the green to me kind of blend in. So I'm going to just change the blue a little bit so that I can see. I'm going to click on the score line and I'm going to bring it over. Oh, now I can see the greens. See the green line? I can see that so much better. This looks like it's about right in the middle between this edge and this edge. Select both of them. I do want to go to edit and align, and I want to do center vertically. So notice how that brought that up just microscopically. That looks great. So I'm going to click on both of those and I'm going to click attach. You can do that here or in the layers panel. And now when I move it around, everything is there. All right, so here is the panel for the lantern that I wanted to make that was not in the original file here. Now I'm going to go ahead and save my work. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, then I'm going to zoom out because I want to kind of see my stuff. So I have one panel, but I need 4. So I'm going to click duplicate 3 times, and that will give me a total of 4 panels. And you can separate them out if you'd like to see all of them. Now, if you are someone who thinks that you would like to make both of these lanterns, you can always grab those 4. You do not attach them, just group them, and then you could rename the group. I'm just going to put the heart plus cross. I'm going to bring these back in so that we can see them. Move this down. Okay, so that's the 3. This one here is the 3 crosses. So you could do 3 crosses. Okay, I'm going to click on the next one, and this one can be tomb. And I'm just double clicking on the title over here. The next one is the risen. Double click on that, and I'm just going to type risen. The next one is back here. I'm going to drag it out. I know it's not a rock, but let me write the, oh, I can put empty tomb. Okay, however you want to name that, right? So there's the 4 panels for the other lantern. You can always just grab them and group them. That's fine. I'm going to click on this and see what it is. That's a base. So I'm going to click on that and say base. So here we go. And I believe this group here is my vellum panels. So you can see that, and you can change that to vellum. All right, so we've got everything we want. Now, I don't want to make this lantern right now. So I am going to go ahead and group it and hide it. The vellum, I am going to hide that group because I'm just going to use my paper trimmer. And then I've got the 2 bases, and then I've got these 4 panels here. Okay, let's go over to the make screen. All right, so when we go to the make screen, you can see here where I have the 2 bases. Now, if you want to give them a little more space, you can give them a little more space. And then it's on the mat. Down here, we've got 2 of the panels. Now, if you'll notice, the panels, an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper is going to be perfect. You can separate it a little bit. I do like to give a little bit of breathing room. And again, on the mat, and same thing here. Give it a little bit of breathing room. All right, so everything looks great. So I basically need 3 sheets of paper. Now, when I go back to the first mat, if I click on continue, my cardstock, the cardstock I'm using today, this is 80 pound, like it's like a heavier weight. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm actually just going to put remember material settings, because as far as the blue is concerned, it's probably 65 pound, but I think the 80 will be fine. It's just, it'll make sure that everything cuts out. You do need to always test your machine, but I have found that based on this cardstock that I have, that the 80-pound and 65-pound, depending on what I'm creating, seem to be about the same. Then I'm going to come over here to edit tools. So edit tools. Now I will have to do this every time I go to a new mat when I'm cutting. I will have to click on edit tools and I will have to click on scoring stylus because I don't yet have a scoring wheel. I think I've ordered that and it is on the way, so I can test that out and click apply. And then for each of my mats, once it looks like this, I will load it into my maker, and then I will hit this button. It'll bring it in, measure it all, and then it'll prompt me to hit the go button. Once that is done for mat number 1, then we will go to mat number 2 and 3. Now when you do click on the next mat, notice my cardstock selection is still selected. However, my scoring stylus is gone. So I do need to click on edit tools and I do need to go back to scoring stylus and apply. So every time you move to a different mat on your screen, that's what you're going to have to do. All right, so now that we have all of this done, I'm going to take you back to the overhead camera and we're going to get these cut out and assembled.
Okay, so for the cutting, I think what I'm going to do is the vellum. I'm just going to leave that for my paper trimmer. I think that will be easiest. Let's get our lantern pieces put on our mats. So, okay, one piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, that will actually work for 2 panels of the lantern. So I'm going to put one down and we're going to brayer that really, really well. Okay, so this will be for 2 sides of my lantern. And then I will do another mat with another piece of 8.5 by 11. And again, brayer that down really, really well. I will be cutting these materials with my Cricut, and we will cut the vellum with a paper trimmer. So I'm going to go ahead and get these items cut out, and then we will start the assembly together. Got everything cut out. So these actually came off the mat pretty easy. So I'll show you what I do with these little intricate cut pieces. When I'm pulling them off of the mat, basically I just do like I always do, and I bend the mat away from the cardstock. And then I have this handy, this little scraper tool, and I just, as I need it, I just kind of push things down. Okay, however, this particular design, as intricate and detailed as it is, it actually comes away from this mat pretty easily, and I was very impressed with that. So we have this piece and this one, and then I think what I'll do is I will stick those right back down on here, and I will clean this off of my mat in a little bit, but in the meantime, we can go ahead and continue with our project. And then this is the base, and this is an extra piece that I will probably use here in a second. Then what I'm going to do now is I'm just looking to see if there are any tiny little pieces that need to come out. This one looks fantastic. All right, it looks like we got all of the little papers, and then I'm going to cut this vellum down. Now, these are going to get folded on the score line and glued together. But what I need to know is from like right in here to right in here, like how wide that is. I would say 4 1/4 wide, 7 3/4 tall. So let's test that out. Let me grab my paper trimmer, bring that in. Okay, so we need 4 1/4. And then, so 7 3/4, which, let's see, if I have 8 1/2, that is 1, 2, let me just take, I'm gonna take off about 3/4 of an inch, and I don't want to get my big paper trimmer out, so I'm just gonna go here on this side, like that. Okay, so I got this tiny little piece. I am going to grab one of these, and I'm gonna see, it definitely could be shorter and skinnier. All right, so let's do 4 instead of 4 1/4. Let's take off about another 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. Let's see how this goes. So 4 by 7 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this vellum cut down. So now we have our vellum panels are cut down, and these are all of these panels here. Then I am going to grab my bone folder here in a second. So I'm basically folding along that score line that my Cricut made, and then I'm going to use my bone folder to press that down. There's one, and we'll get the rest of these here. Okay, and this is 4. So here we go. As far as this base right here, and I'm still trying to decide if this is going to be too big. We're going to fold along these 4 score lines. Oop, I didn't do a very good job on that one. Okay, and we'll fold along this score line, and then this one. And these score lines, you know, they're not super deep, but you can see them. You could always use your scoreboard if you have one. I have this little mini one right here, and I really could just take it and score it on those lines on there. And then these folded in a little bit, and those will be glued together just like that. Okay, so we'll worry about the base here in just a little bit. So the original size in the file, it seems way too small, unless it's a case of it needs to go on the inside. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they had it go on the inside where the lantern just fit down over the top. It will be easiest for us to put the vellum on the panels before we glue them. Okay, now if you get glue on vellum, it will show. So what I want to do is I'm going to make a thin border around the perimeter here. And I need to stay relatively close to the inside of the cut, because my vellum does not go all the way to the edge. And then I am going to lay this down. And I'm going to give it a gentle press just to kind of get it to stick together. And all right, that was a great amount of glue because there's nothing that came off out of the inside. All right, I'm gonna leave this here for a second while I do the other 3. This is actually a neat project. You could do this for, well, and I know they have them. You could do this for pretty much any season or holiday. I know that Design Space does have a lot of lantern type files in there, but what a cute project, and very beginner friendly. Okay, and if you have kids or grandkids, you absolutely could do this with them. They could definitely do some gluing. Okay, so here is this one. You'll have to let me know down in the comments, like, have you ever made a lantern with your Cricut? And if so, what holiday or season did you make it for? And also, I would be interested to know, like, how long have you been using your Cricut? So how new are you to the Cricut? And what type of Cricut do you have? So I definitely have jumped in that pool on the deep end. I have the Cricut Maker 3. My husband gave me that a couple of years ago, and that's what started this whole journey. And then I have a Cricut Joy. That was the next one I bought because I did want like a smaller machine just for like smaller crafts that didn't need like the huge powerhouse of the Maker. So I got the Joy, and then the Joy does not do print and cut. So I decided to go ahead and get the Joy Extra. So I took this one is long. I need to fix this one. Ooh, I might have to re-glue that. Oh, actually, I think I'm going to have to cut that. Let me grab these scissors, these non-stick scissors. I'm just going to go in here and trim this right here. But what I was saying is, so here at the house, I have the Cricut Joy Extra, and I do like it for my smaller projects, and you can do print and cut, so it makes it really nice. And then I do have the Cricut Maker 3, and I took my Joy Extra, my little regular Joy up to the school. And I do use it in my classroom. Okay, so here is this lantern. And it is the same on all 4 sides, as you can see. I need to see if this tape is too wide or if it's just the right size. Okay, I think it's a little bit too wide. That's okay. We'll just keep using this glue. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add glue to these little edges where we had the score line at. Then I'm going to line up each of these panels. Okay, so here's one. All right. And then again, pressing it down in there. Super easy. This is so easy. Okay. Then we can go along this little strip here. Whoop, just got off. And then again, getting our panel lined up. Okay. Actually, I think I liked what I did before. I liked putting it down while it's flat and then folding it back up. So, okay. And then I can go like this. Okay, and then I have this one here. Okay, and same thing as the others. Going to line that up. Give that a good press. and then fold and press again. And then I have this one here. All right. Nice. Okay, so here is our lantern. Now, if you wanted to, let me do this cross, and I wouldn't put very much, but I might put like 1 dot of glue just so that it doesn't kind of flop around. But I would not put more than 1 dot because vellum will show all the glue, and it doesn't need to be a big dot. Those of you that use this glue, you know, like literally 1 tiny little dot goes a long way. All right, so here is our lantern. All 4 sides are the same. And then let me see about this base, because I really do think now that this is meant to be smaller so that it would be on the inside. And so because I messed that up, I am going to come in here with my scoreboard. Okay. And okay, so it's right here. So I'm going to come in, well, let me come in like this. Okay, so this is at 4 3/4. So I'm going to do all 4 sides at 4 3/4 so that I can fix my error. And I know that like you can get the battery powered tea lights. You could get the fairy lights. So that would be something that was cool. Okay, I'm going to fold that down. And I'm going to fold it down over here. Okay, so that right there. And now I'm going to just trim this corner. So I'm trimming all of the ones that are on the right-hand side. And the ones that are on the left, those will be the ones that wrap around. So you can actually just see how it goes just like that. Just like so. And they're slightly long, but that's okay. Let me kind of go in at a little angle here. And we're going to do that so that it doesn't stick out. Okay, so like that. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna get some glue here on these tabs. And we're just gonna press, and then the same thing here. And again, I will just press. This side seems a lot longer than it needs to be. Okay, and then I'm gonna further fix my mistake by cutting along here, this little overhang. All right, so hopefully I got this down sized correctly. And then we're just gonna fit this over that, and voila, there it goes. Now your tea light will sit on top of that. That's perfect. I love that. All right, so nice little base platform. It is really not necessary. You don't have to do that, but that's just kind of a nice touch, and I think this is great. All right, well, here is our little lantern. This is great. I love this base, actually, now that I got it sized correctly, and I love that it just fits right in there. It holds the tea light. And I definitely probably would not use the lantern without it. It does give it a little bit of stability, but I would not glue the base to the lantern because this can be folded up and put away for after your season or your holiday. I hope you found this video was helpful. If you did, don't forget to give this video a like. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever made one of these before, and if you have, what season or holiday did you work on? And also let me know, how long have you been using your Cricut, and which Cricut do you have? And if you ever have something that you want to see done here on the channel, don't forget, you can just leave me a comment below for that as well. And also, if you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you. So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Until I see you in the next card or craft, as always, have an amazing day and happy crafting.
Thank you all so much for watching today. I'm so glad that you can join me at my craft table. If you're not already, I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you'll know when new videos arrive. Have a great day, and as always, happy crafting.